Welcome back, MTN Giants podcast. A lot to talk about from this Monday night beatdown in New England. Possibly the worst special teams game I've ever watched from the Giants. Possibly the worst kick attempt I've ever seen in any NFL game in my 15 to 20 years of watching football. I don't think I've ever seen a kick attempt as bad as what Younghoe Koo did. We could talk about how the Giants are 5-25 in their past 30 games. We can also talk about Abdul Carter being late, apparently, to a meeting once again. This would be the second time in a month now this has happened, and not a great look for a rookie who has made impacts, maybe not to the level that we've wanted to so far. Some questionable coaching decisions from Mike Kafka, the interim head coach, and we could talk about Jackson Dart making his return from the two-game absence. Took a couple of big hits, one big hit on the sideline where Theo Johnson stood up for him, got a penalty. I don't blame Theo Johnson for that. I didn't think it was the worst hit. It wasn't egregious in my opinion, but I just don't think Dart was expecting it, and I think the hit kind of looked worse than what it may have looked like on TV, so I don't know. And then, of course, we have a Joe Schoen press conference tomorrow, which should be very interesting. We'll speculate about that and what could be said there. But even with Shane Bowen gone, which I did not make a video about it, but of course Shane Bowen got fired, seems like not much change. Maybe the defense had some bright moments here and there. I think mainly this loss is on special teams, of course, because as I said, this might be the worst special teams Giants game I've watched in my life, but still not great. And they were healthy. Like Adebo was back, Holland's been back now. I mean, they looked healthy in the secondary. They have their pass rushers. There's just no excuse. I mean, I know their linebacker spot next to Okereke is pretty rough, playing Zaire Barnes and whoever else, So I get that part of it, but for the most part, a lot of your starters are there on defense, and you're still not looking great. And it felt like the Patriots can get whatever they wanted, whenever they wanted. And it wasn't like Diggs had a big game. It wasn't like Travion Henderson had another multi-touchdown game. It wasn't like, anybody specific went crazy. It just felt like the Patriots kind of played with their food and can get what they want. They went for a 4th and 6. They got it no problem, put Diggs in motion, sit him down in zone, picks up the easy first down. So just, I don't know. It's been embarrassing. And as I said, 5-25 in their past 30 games. Not sure how Joe Schoen remains. I mean, yeah, you can say the coaching's not good, but we're running out of coaches to point fingers at. I mean, really, at the end of the day, this roster's just not producing results. And I do like what we see from Jackson Dart. I do like some of the young talent. Of course, if Scattaboo and Malik Neighbors were healthy, maybe this looks different. But defensively, you're still not getting enough. You're not getting enough from Abdul Carter. You're not getting enough from Dexter Lawrence. Kayvon Thibodeau has not been playing, which is one guy I forgot to mention. Brian Burns did not make his usual impact tonight. I thought he made a couple of nice plays. He had a nice pressure on one of the first couple drives, but it wasn't the usual disruptive Brian Burns performance. So anyway, let's get into it more in depth. Of course, leave a like, subscribe. Let's get into it. Offensively, once again, the Giants go with this very run-heavy approach, and they were down 17-0 in the first quarter. So this is not an instance where the Giants got out to a lead and they wanted to chew up some clock and just run the ball. They started out this game down very early, and they just continued to pound the rock and ended this game with 3 more rushing attempts than passing attempts, which I get it. It's Mike Kafka's philosophy. He wants to be a run-first team, but I do think game script has to matter to a degree. You're down at one point like 30-7, and they were still out here just running, 5 plays out of 6 were run plays and stuff like that. It just didn't really make sense to me. I mean, you have Jackson Dart, put the ball in his hands and let him make plays. I feel like one of the Giants' only chances to win this game was to have Jackson Dart make some big plays, which honestly he had moments where he did. The 2-point conversion to Darius Slayton was a perfect example where he runs around from the left sideline back to the right, finds Slayton coming back to the ball. He made the nice throw to Theo Johnson stepping up in the pocket that went through Theo Johnson's hands, which we've seen too much of that this year, unfortunately. So they stick to the run, and I mean, their final rushing numbers looked okay, 4.1 yards per carry. It was very similar to what the Patriots did. Same yards per carry number. The Pats had 2 more rush attempts, 8 more yards, but same yards per carry. But once again, the Patriots were up 30-7 at halftime. I mean, they had a reason to run the ball. If you're the Giants, you don't really have a reason to run the ball when you're down by 2 scores, 3 scores. It wasn't like it was a neutral game script, a positive game script. I just feel like Kafka's been too loyal to this run-heavy approach, and when you get down by this much, it doesn't really make sense. And then you had moments later, which we'll go over once we reach the note section, but you had moments in this game where they could have went for it on 4th down, and I thought there were 2 occasions where they should have went for it, and Kafka just said, no, let's punt the ball, and both times it just didn't make sense. One of them was the 4th down and 1. So the Giants were on their own 40. You're close enough to midfield. They're 1 yard away from picking it up, and they try to draw the Pats off sides. They get a delay of game, 5-yard penalty. You're down 27-7 at this point. I can get if it's a 1-possession game. Hell, if it's a 2-possession game, I can even understand it. But to be down by 20 points, basically 3 touchdowns, and to not trust your offense at your own 40-yard line to get 1 yard, just to punt it to New England and have them get that field position back in 3 plays is a very bad look. I mean, technically it was 4 plays, but still. They went past to Mac Hollins for 7 yards, 15 yards to Demario Douglas, 36 yards to Ramondre Stevenson, who caught that one. It was very similar to what Tyrone Tracy had versus the Lions last week when he caught that ball on the dump-off and there was no one there from Detroit's defense. The Giants did the same thing to Ramondre Stevenson, who picked up 36 yards. And then Drake May went to Demario Douglas again for a 9-yard gain. So it took the Pats offense 4 plays to go from their own 23 to the Giants' 19. And it just never made sense to me in that situation for Mike Kafka, who I know is coaching for a permanent head coaching job, so he wants to take it serious. He's not going to go for every single 4th down. But in that situation, show some balls. I mean, you are 2-10 at the end of the day. So just trust your offense to get that yard, and the fact that New England went down the field in a blink of an eye in 4 plays just to get even further from where the Giants were before that, it just makes it look even worse. And then you have the one later in the game. I did want to save this, but I'll just get to it now. It was 4th and 8. The Giants were on their own 27, so there's 7 minutes, 52 seconds to go. The Giants are down 15-30 at this point. They get the stop they needed. They get the ball back. Jackson Dart ran around. He slipped around the 26-yard line or 27-yard line. So now it's 4th and 8 from the Giants on 27. But once again, you're under 8 minutes to go. You're down by 2 scores. The Giants defense has shown pretty much the entire game that they can't get New England off the field in like a 3-and-out situation. I don't think the Pats had a single 3-and-out this entire game. So you know that inevitably they're going to chew off some clock, which at that point is your biggest enemy. And when the Giants punted this ball, there was 7 minutes, 52 seconds to go. The Giants did not touch the ball until there was 2 minutes and 14 seconds to go, which at that point, it was a 18-point lead and the game was out of reach. So you went from a 15-point deficit, 2-possession game, still possible, to punting them back the ball. They, of course, get into field goal range. The kicker, Barrett Jealous, I don't know how to pronounce his name, makes the easy chip shot from 23 yards and makes this a 3-score game. So I don't think this situation was as bad as what Kafka did before halftime, but I think both instances he should have went for it. And I think the Giants' record has something to do with that. I know, like, if they were 10-2, like if both teams were 10-2 and you're really, in it to be in the playoffs, like I get it, maybe be a bit more conservative, but when you're in this situation, I mean, just why not? Like your only chance, especially in that last situation with 8 minutes to go in the 4th quarter, their only chance to win this game was by getting the 1st down there on 4th and 8. By punting them the ball back, did anyone on the planet think the Giants were going to get a 3-and-out? It was never going to happen. And yeah, that's pretty much how the Patriots chewed off half the clock in the 4th quarter and just led to the loss. And the Giants had some garbage time. They tried to get the ball to Theo Johnson on 4th and 8, fell incomplete. They went an all-out blitz. Anyway, for Jackson Dart, it was a pretty efficient day, 17 of 24, 139 only. 1 touchdown pass, took 2 sacks. I thought he looked okay. It wasn't anything special, definitely not one of his top 3 games, but not a bad game either. He didn't have much to work with, understandably. 4 carries for 20 yards, took a couple of big hits. I think one of them was maybe Harold Landry, where on TV it looked worse than it was. I think he was sliding and it looked like he got his head knocked back, but I don't think it was that bad of a hit by Landry. And then you had the one on the out of bounds where I think, to me, it looked fair. I know some people will look at it and say, oh, that was so unnecessary. And sure, maybe it was to a degree. But as I said earlier, I think part of the reason that hit looked so big was because Jackson Dart was kind of letting up. And I don't think he was expecting that big of a hit on the sideline. So once he gets that big hit he's not expecting, his body flies back 5 yards. And it looks a lot worse than it was. So if you're Jackson Dart, you got to be a bit more alert and just make sure like you're getting out of bounds before that hit happens, because watching it live, I had flashbacks to what he did against Philly in the game the Giants won against them on that Thursday nighter back in like week 4 or 5, whenever it was. And I thought he was going to like lunge for the first down. So I don't blame the Patriots defender, whoever it was, for hitting Jackson Dart on the sideline there. I would have done the same thing. I don't think it was obvious that he was out of bounds, because I think when you watch the replay, his right foot, which was the last foot to hit before the hit stick occurred, his foot was still in bounds, or maybe like an inch out of bounds. But either way, like he was right there. So I don't blame the Patriots defender for making that hit. I'm a little annoyed that Jackson Dart put himself in that situation to take that sack, or not sack, but take the big hit. But I will say he did a little better today of just not putting his body on the line as much and just going down. He dove head first a couple times, but it was in a safe area where nobody was going to hit him because nobody was close when he did it. And I think, once again, his day would have looked much better if Theo Johnson caught that pass. There was even one to Slayton where I think it was the final drive, where he basically faced an all-out blitz, threw it up to Slayton, and it was a tough catch, but the replay showed that the ball went right through his hands, which we've seen with Slayton way too many times, unfortunately. Now, to Slayton's credit, he did have the touchdown catch. That was a nice play by him, 30-yard touchdown, first score of the day for the Giants to make it 17-7, so I'll give him credit for that. It felt like the Patriots defenders, like 3 of those guys, took really questionable angles on that play to make that tackle. Slayton had 2 catches, 41 yards. Wandale, 7 catches for 34. Theo Johnson, 3 for 29 in that drop in the end zone. Devin Singletary, 3 for 34. Had another catch, Singletary. It was similar to what he did against Chicago when Russell Wilson came in, where he kind of tiptoed down the sideline for a nice gain. It wasn't as long. I think this one was a 16-yard gain, but Singletary has shown that ability to tiptoe down the sideline. And speaking of Singletary, he did have the 22-yard rushing touchdown, kind of a trick play, like a wildcat formation. They put Jackson Dart out wide and they motioned him back towards the quarterback, and they faked the flip, and Singletary took off, and he had a pretty much wide open lane, went untouched. It was good blocking, so a trick play that works there for the Giants. I give them credit for that. And Tyrone Tracy looked okay, but he did leave this game injured. I don't know what the severity is. It looks pretty bad. I mean, from what I'm reading so far, Tracy was unable to put much weight on his left foot. According to Pat Leonard, I think he has a hip injury or a foot injury, whatever it was. He was down on the ground, had to get carted to the locker room. So yeah, one of these fantasy doctors are saying it's a hip injury, and with him having a hard time putting weight on his side, according to this fantasy doctor, that's not a good sign. So if Tracy's lost for the year, I guess it wouldn't be the most surprising thing. You're down to Devin Singletary and Dante Miller maybe. Like, they're going to have to call somebody up because they just need bodies in the backfield at this point. And then defensively, Zaire Barnes had the most tackles, 13 tackles, 8 solo, had 1 sack in this game, which was later in the game. It was a pretty big sack by him. It was on second down. It eventually forced a punt, so that was a key moment there. Dane Belton also had a sack. He had 5 solo tackles, 1 pass defended. Paulson Adebo, who did get burned on the Kyle Williams touchdown in the early, I think it was the first quarter, he did have 8 tackles, 1 pass defended, but Adebo did have a couple of bad moments in this game, and one of them was allowing the big touchdown. Tyler Nubin had that one really nice tackle for a loss, had 4 solo tackles, maybe not a bad Nubin game, but nothing too crazy. Abdul Carter was finally given a sack. I'm pretty sure it counts as his first. I guess they did count this as a sack. I'm looking at it now because I remember the play where He steps up in the pocket, Drake May, and he tackled him like, I thought it was right in front of the line of scrimmage, but I guess they're giving Abdul Carter a sack there. So, hey, first career sack for Abdul Carter. I'm not sure if they can take that away from him, but right now it's his first career sack, so good for him. But also, yeah, he was benched for, I think, the entire first quarter, and there's rumors, of course, of him sleeping and not sleeping, but like showing up late to meetings, and there was the rumor about him sleeping, and I think that kind of got brushed under the rug because he was confused about the time of the meeting being changed or something. It's just too much crap going on for a rookie who, let's be honest, has not proven too much in his first year. I do like some reps on his film, of course. He looks dominant at times, but just the whole body of work so far for Abdul Carter is nothing sensational. It's not like, you don't look at him and say, oh, that's a gold jacket player right there. I think we all thought that coming out of college, but as of right now, through the first 13 games, it's not like a no-doubter that he's even going to win Defensive Rookie of the Year. So it's not like he's a guy, nor should anybody have that kind of like power or pull in the organization to show up late to meetings. Like, no, you have to be on time. I mean, it's just like being on time to work. You have to do it. Even if you're the best employee at your job, you still have to be there on time. And so far for Abdul Carter, it's pretty embarrassing. So I hope he gets his head screwed on straight, and hopefully it's something with being young or something. I don't know. It's just I'm trying to make excuses for it, but it's tough at this point. Cordell Flott may have had a couple nice moments. I think he gave up a touchdown at some point in this game. Brian Burns, as I mentioned, was quiet, had one tackle for a loss. I think it was a Ramondre Stevenson run. I think it was the play where Stevenson had the 5-yard loss on the run, and then the Patriots went for it on 4th and 6 and got the first down to Diggs. Dexter Lawrence, one solo tackle. Obviously, based on the stats, nothing too impressive there for him. I did not take too many notes in this game, but I did write down some. And I do want to start with the special teams and how bad that was, because from the opening play of the game, you could just tell like the Giants special teams was not prepared or something. So first play, Terrell Jennings, the I think third string running back on the Patriots, had a kickoff for 39 yards, got down to the New England 47-yard line. So basically they started midfield, and then later in the quarter, Marcus Jones has a punt return for the Patriots for 94 yards to make it 10-0. And at that point, I think we realized we're in some deep crap, because it's just, you can't have that. Like, if you're going to lose this game because Drake May's too good or the defense has turnovers or something, like, okay, so be it. But you can't come into New England and have the worst special teams performance I've seen from the Giants in years and expect to win the game. Now, even if the Giants had great special teams tonight, they probably still lose. But that right there was the icing on the cake. Like, once you saw how this game started, how the Patriots were getting to midfield on these returns and getting the punt return for a touchdown, you just knew it was over. There was a Hunter Henry corner route against Zaire Barnes where he just got torched on it. I think he lost Hunter Henry. I mean, Hunter Henry he's no Brock Bowers. He's solid, but still, I mean, this is not like one of the better receiving tight ends in football by any means. Kayshon Boutte had the touchdown on Cordell Flott on a fade for a 3-yard score. Abdul Carter got the what they call a sack, so we'll go with that. Drake May was stepping up in the pocket. It did force the Patriots to punt. It was 17-7 at that point. I was a little surprised that the Pats did punt it there. They were on their own 34. You're up 10. Okay, I get it, but I don't know. Part of me was a little bit surprised. Then the punter shanked it. It was a 22-yard punt. But the Giants could not make them pay, because on the ensuing drive, they have what I think is the worst field goal attempt ever, which will go down as a Jamie Gillen 13-yard loss. And Younghoe Koo, who I've watched kick plenty of times, of course he's missed his fair share of field goals left and right, but I've never seen him do, or really any kicker, do something like this, where he gets his plant foot stuck in the, I don't know if it's turf or grass, but he gets his foot caught in the ground and just doesn't even make contact with the ball. And then the holder, Gillen, is just stuck there with the ball with a bunch of Patriots defenders just coming at him, and he takes a 13-yard loss. So that play right there sums up the Giants season. I mean, I'm sure that play caused a lot of laughs and just bunch of people going crazy on social media because that's just not something you see every day. Abdul Carter also had a nice move. He had a swim move on the center, Garrett Bradbury, which caused a holding call, but it didn't really matter because Drake May on the same drive found Kyle Williams for the long touchdown. That was against Paulson Adebo. It was 33 yards to make it 24-7. At this point, it was 17-7. After this, it was like, all right, this game's over. Like, I just don't think the Giants have it tonight. I mean, they don't have it most times anyway, but just after that long touchdown, you're like, all right, well, that's all she wrote for this one. It was going to take quite the comeback, and obviously we didn't really get it. So then it's 24-7. The 33-yard touchdown happens. On the ensuing kickoff, there is a fumble, and Gunnar Olszewski suffers a helmet-to-helmet hit, which I'm almost positive he now has a concussion. It looked pretty bad. He then fumbles the ball. They call him down at first. The replay clearly showed the ball was out. Now, I think it is kind of stupid, though, because if the replay is able to determine if the ball was fumbled before he hits the ground, why can't we also determine that it was a clear helmet-to-helmet hit and should have been a penalty on the Patriots? I think this happened in a game yesterday in the NFL where it was like they could have, like, something was able to be challenged or overturned, but there was also something illegal going on during the play and it couldn't be overturned. So that stuff kind of annoys me. And I know the NBA, they fixed this. They did a good job of this in the NBA. I remember it was like a Kyrie Irving, and I think it was him on the Mavericks, and it was against the Spurs. I kind of remember this. And Kyrie did something illegal, and the ball went out of bounds on the Spurs, and like the call got overturned in the Mavericks' favor. But then Kyrie also did something illegal before that happened. So it was kind of stupid. The NBA realized how we're able to challenge this, and it's favoring the Mavericks, but before that play even happened, the Mavericks player did something illegal. So now in the NBA, if you challenge something, like if you're challenging if a player has an offensive foul, I saw this in a Nets game recently. Like there was a play where the Nets offensive player accidentally elbowed a guy as he got by him with the ball. But before that happened, the net player with the ball was fouled. So the NBA was able to review it and realize like, oh, he got fouled before the elbow occurred, so therefore it's Nets ball on the side. So I don't know why the NFL can't do stuff like that. Like anyone can tell that, yes, this is an illegal helmet-to-helmet hit from whoever it was. It might have been Caden Ellis on Gunnar Olszewski. Like that should have been a penalty, and now the Giants get screwed. And that right there was a highlight of the Giants' special teams in the first half. They allowed a 94-yard punt return for a touchdown. They allowed on the opening kickoff to have the Patriots get down to the, I think, 47-yard line. They had possibly the worst field goal attempt in NFL history, and then they had the fumble on a kickoff. So just 4 horrible special teams plays there for the Giants. And I don't care how talented you are, it's very tough to win a game when you're making that many mistakes and costing your team that many points. Like you think about it, right? The punt return touchdown, that's 7. The missed, I don't even want to call it a missed field goal, but the missed attempt to get your foot on the ball, that's another 3 points right there. So it's a 10-point swing just off of bad special teams plays. And even like the first kick return, that eventually got the Patriots in field goal range, and it was 3-0 to start the game. So that's 13 points off of bad special teams plays. And then also on the Olszewski fumble on the kickoff, that also led to a field goal. So if I'm doing the math in my head now, I think special teams mishaps basically led to 16 Patriots points. It was touchdown and 3 field goals, so 7, 3, 3, and 3. So 16 points because of the Giants being awful on special teams tonight. There was the cool play where Jackson Dart on 3rd down basically got lifted in the air. I think it was Caleb Von Chase on, like, Dart was off of his feet and somehow was able to jump throw to a near first down for Isaiah Hodgins, who I think that was his one catch today. That made it 4th and 1. And then the Giants don't go for it, which they try to bluff it. The Patriots don't go off sides. It just annoyed me. Like, you're 2-10. You need 1 freaking yard, and they don't do it. So that pissed me off. And then, as I said before, the Patriots in 4 plays go right down the field and get right back in the field goal range, and it just never made sense for what Kafka did right there. The Giants, out of halftime, had a 3rd and 3 swing pass to Tyrone Tracy in the flat with a defender right in front of him, so that play lost 3 yards. Now Kafka wants to go for it. They're on the Patriots 38, so okay, field position-wise, you're further than you were, but now you have to go 6 yards instead of 1 yard. So I just didn't really understand I don't know, it seemed kind of like hypocritical to me, at least. The pass got thrown off of Theo Johnson's hands. I mean, yeah, it was too high of a pass, but it hit off his fingertips, so that fell incomplete. Turnover on downs. The Giants had Drake May on a 3rd and 7, and then Abdul Carter kind of lost the outside containment, and Drake May took off and ran for a 1st down. The Patriots actually missed a field goal with Burragelis, who he missed it left from 45. The Giants kind of made a comeback. They had the Singletary wildcat fake flip play to Dart. He ran it for a 22-yard touchdown. Dart had the really nice 2-point conversion to Darius Slayton. So that made it 30-15, which was really the smallest lead the Patriots had for pretty much the entire second half. Zaire Barnes had the big sack on 2nd down that eventually forced the punt. And then the final one that pissed me off, we went over it before, it was 4th and 8 minutes to go. Giants on their own 27, down by 15 points, and they punt the ball. Even Peyton Manning, who at that point I was watching the Odell Beckham interview with the Manning brothers, even Peyton Manning was like, you got to go for this. Like, they're just going to waste the clock, and he was right. So I'm not sure. I know it's easy to say it from the couch and whatnot, but I just had no faith that the Giants were going to stop the Patriots offense. I really felt the only chance they had to win the game was by getting that 4th and 8, and they just end up punting it. So it is what it is. In my opinion, they would have lost either way. Like, if you punt it, you're going to lose. And if you go for it and don't get it, you're still going to lose. At least if you get that 4th and 8, you're giving yourself a little bit of hope to go down and score, make it a 1-touchdown game, and try to win the game in the final stages of the 4th quarter. And then this was also brought up by Troy Aikman. I saw Bobby Skinner tweet this. Troy Aikman was kind of alluding to that the Giants need a proven head coach as their next head coach. And to me, it was kind of weird because Mike Kafka's still technically a candidate for this job, and Troy Aikman was talking as if the Giants are 1,000% going to hire somebody new, and it's going to be somebody experienced. And I think Bobby speculated here that maybe the Giants fed him this information, but who the hell knows? But it was just kind of weird the way it was worded by Troy Aikman. So now that is 7 straight losses for the Giants. As I've said before, now it's a bye week. Joe Schoen talks tomorrow. I might make a video tomorrow or Wednesday, depending on how interesting the Schoen quotes are. I do hope the media presses him a lot, but who the hell knows? They do finish with easier games. Washington, the Vikings, the Raiders, and then Dallas. Dallas may have something to play for, maybe not. At least the Cowboys are kind of making the division interesting, but a lot depends on if they can win on Thursday at Detroit. Washington looked better last night. They easily could have won that game. The Vikings look awful still, and same with the Raiders. So I could see the Giants finishing out 2-2. There's a world where it could be 3-1. But even if you get 3 wins in the next 4 games to close out the year, you're still 5-12. It's pretty freaking bad. So in my opinion, nothing I see from here on out can really save Joe Schoen, in my opinion. I want him gone. I'm not sure if Giants ownership wants him gone. I really do think that John Mara likes him a lot. And it's annoying because I kind of had a sarcastic tweet about this recently. It's almost like Joe Schoen did the bare minimum that a GM has to do to kind of get in the good graces of Giants ownership. So there was one article written, it was by Ralph Vacchiano. I think I responded to Bobby Skinner, who brought out a few paragraphs from this piece. And my response was, so essentially he extended, and he being Joe Schoen, extended 3 Dave Gettleman players, one of whom who was horrendous in Daniel Jones, and did the bare minimum of a modern GM by introducing analytics to the organization. And then I sarcastically said, you know what? I'm sold. 4 more years. So based on the article, it's like it pretty much was praising Joe Schoen for extending Andrew Thomas, Dexter Lawrence, and Daniel Jones. 3 guys of which he didn't even draft or pick up. So thanks Dave Gettleman for that. And then also the big piece of it is like, oh my God, Joe Schoen brought in analytics. Like every freaking team not even football, every freaking team in professional sports in the year 2025 is using analytics. I don't think Joe Schoen should get any sort of credit for doing the bare minimum that a modern NFL GM does. And just because Dave Gettleman was stuck in 1985, it doesn't mean that Joe Schoen is like this wizard with his special analytics, because every freaking GM you would interview and possibly hire would do the same thing, if not better. And I just don't know if John Mara gets that. So that pisses me off, and I just hope that's not one of the main factors in what's possibly going to keep Joe Schoen here in 2026. Like, oh, the behind the scenes, it's great. The analytics, oh, the process. Like, no, any modern GM with half a brain can do these things. It's just they were so behind the times with the previous GM that it just makes Joe Schoen look much better than he is. And I think the record should speak for itself. They've been declining every year since 2022. And I just can't sit here and say with confidence that I'm super excited about this roster and where they're at. They have pieces, but you fire Bowen, the defense still sucks. The special teams was bad. I mean, you don't have really, I know 2 of their main skill guys are out, but your wide receiver 1, because of 1 wide receiver injury, should not have to be Wan'Dale Robinson. I think the guy's had a good year. He's made some key plays, but I don't ever look at Wan'Dale Robinson as a real wide receiver 2. On a good team, he's probably a wide receiver 3. Here's some Abdul Carter quotes. I'm seeing this from Jordan Ronon's Twitter. Abdul Carter on his benching, quote, shit happens. Also said, quote, like I said, I have to be better. I have to take pride in what I do, be where I have to be at, simple as that. So based on that, which was tweeted 41 seconds ago, sounds like he was late, and Mike Kafka wouldn't openly admit why he benched him in the first quarter, but Kafka said, quote, it's my decision. Like, we didn't know that. Thanks, Mike Kafka. So, yeah, I think we're like 99% sure he was just late to another meeting, and I want to kind of just be easy on him because he's still young and whatnot, but to do this twice in like 3 weeks is a very bad look. And if it makes it any better, Wesley Steinberg tweeted that the Giants are firing GM Joe Schoen, and it seems like Wesley Steinberg was right about the Abdul Carter benching today. Maybe not for the specific reason, because I don't even want to read what he tweeted before, but it was funny. So Wesley, the parody account, tweeted at 3:23 today that Abdul Carter will miss the first drive tonight for disciplinary reasons after getting caught watching Korn, I'll call it, in a team meeting when his headphones were disconnected. So, yeah, obviously I hope that's not true. I mean, I think we're like 99.9% sure that's not true, but there were some funny responses to that as well. Like El Jefe said, hate when that happens. Somebody said, DE, Abdul Carter out, parentheses, horny. That's pretty funny. So, good responses to that. But yeah, he actually was out for the first drive, and sometimes Wesley Steinberg, maybe just by coincidence, gets shit right. It's not going to be tomorrow, of course, but I really hope Joe Schoen's fired. There's just no reason to keep him, and maybe it is tomorrow. I still doubt it, but there's always a chance. You never know. I mean, I know reports were saying a month ago when Dable got fired that that Joe Schoen is very safe and the Giants view him highly, but as you're losing 7 games in a row now, and some of these games, I mean, a lot of these games come down to the last few plays, and I'm sure Joe Schoen, as usual, will try to use the 1-score game excuse, which he's done for the past 2 years. Well, if you look at the 1-score games, we blew 7 games. Okay, well, you're still blowing 7 games, dude. Like, figure it out. You hired the coach. I mean, figure it out. Like, we can't be doing this every single year, the same song and dance of, well, we did lose 7 games by 1 score. Yeah, so does every other NFL team that's bad. Like, yeah, I'm sure I could look at the freaking Tennessee Titans and realize, yeah, they lost a lot of 1-score games. I can look at the Raiders and say, yeah, they lost a lot of 1-score games. I know for a fact that the Arizona Cardinals, who suck, they have blown a ton of 1-score games. It does not mean that Arizona's in a good spot and that their coaches and general manager should be retained. I'm just looking now for the fun of it. So the Titans they only have 3 losses by 1 score. Wow. The Titans are just ass. I can't defend them. And even the Raiders had 3 as well. So yeah, like a Raiders general manager can say, well, we should have 5 wins instead of 2 wins. Like, it doesn't work like that. I don't like to strictly say you are what your record says you are. Like, especially if it's only like a 1-year sample size, because sometimes a team can truly get unlucky. But when you've done this for 3 straight years now and keep going back to the well for the same exact excuse, eventually it's a pattern that you just are who you are. And I know Joe Schoen's not the one on the field. He's not the one coaching, but you have to like pick the players that are resilient and can close out these games. Guys that have the clutch gene, guys that can step up and be leaders when your team needs one, guys that can step up and make the big play when a big player needs to make the big time play. The Giants don't seem to have it. Deonte Banks, who this general manager traded up for, I feel like is responsible for like 2 or 3 of these blown leads in the final minutes, especially the game against Denver. He was like on the wrong end of 2 or 3 plays there. The loss against Detroit, I mean, yeah, you can blame Shane Bowen for it. It ultimately got him fired, but how a single defender doesn't even touch Jahmyr Gibbs on the final big run he had. You're not telling me that's even a bit of a talent issue? Like, come on. So it's annoying, and I just once again hope that he's no longer the GM here. I think this team needs to reset. I'm not saying get rid of every single player. There's still players on this team that I like, and some of them are unfortunately out for the year. But I think Joe Schoen has done enough damage here, and some of the stuff he's done has not made too much sense. One of the main ones being letting Xavier McKinney walk and then signing Javon Holland for a pretty similar annual average per year contract. Like, that just never made sense. The Saquon thing I don't care about. I would have let him walk too, although I would have traded him the year before. And the Daniel Jones contract, I mean, Joe Schoen has to get shit for that one too. I think we all read the story of how basically Joe Schoen was finessed by Daniel Jones's agency in the final seconds of negotiations during that period where you had to, I think, was it the period where it was the franchise tag deadline? It was either that or the deadline where Daniel Jones would have became a free agent. But either way, like, apparently Joe Schoen handled that negotiation terribly, and you see the results now. And honestly, speaking of Jones, I'm very happy that the Colts are now losing. I would really like, this season has sucked overall, but seeing him start the year like 8-1 and then going on to miss the playoffs, which I guess is possible, that would make me pretty happy. So they were 7-1, now they're 8-4. I mean, they play some tough teams. Jacksonville, Seattle, San Fran, Jacksonville again, and then Houston, who's looked much better lately. So no layups at least. So, hey, maybe Jones starts 8-1 and loses out. It's almost like we've seen that before, right? The Giants, 2022, they started out the year, 7-2, and then closed out the year like 2-5 or something. So, or 2-5-1. So, yeah, Jones can fool you for half a year, but I think eventually he is what he is. I know his leg is like broken or something, but that's also part of the problem. He's always hurt, so I don't even want to talk about him too much longer, but it just seems like a pretty relatable season to what we saw in 2022. Another pretty embarrassing one. Not much else to say about this. Abdul Carter, please get your ass to meetings on time, and Jackson Dart, take care of yourself. Don't have an injury so bad that it's going to affect you for next year. Like, just take it easy. Even like the Giants and Mike Kafka playing Dart with like, what was it, like 3 minutes left and they were down 3 scores. Like, at that point, just take him out the game. Like, what are we doing here? Like, I know he didn't take any big hits and he was kind of just dumping the ball off, but I don't know. To me, it didn't make sense of why I even put him out there, but at least he's fine. So anyway, that'll do it. Leave in the comments how you feel about this game. As I said, if there's any like really interesting Schoen comments tomorrow, I may make a video in the next couple days, although I expect the same bullshit that Schoen always gives us. And if he says the thing about the 1-score games, I'm just going to laugh to myself because I have a feeling it's coming. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I will talk to you all next time.